The Group of 20 summit is overshadowed by American threats as Putin describes any American military action on Syria as a deadly aggression. The circle of Arab and international popular protests widens in rejection of American threats to launch a possible aggression on Syria. Syrian Arab army continues their national tasks in pursuing terrorists and destroying their hideouts in Damascus and Homs suburbs. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Irado Krikorian from the News Center in Damascus. Russian President Vladimir Putin held a briefing session yesterday, which was attended by top Russian officials prior to the convention of the Group of 20 activities in St. Petersburg, northwest of Russia. Russian presidency spokesman Dmitry Peskov said among the Russian senior officials who attended yesterday's session were the defense, foreign and interior ministers, in addition to the chairman of Federal Security. He added that the meeting revolved on the situation in Syria together with other issues. China has reiterated the call for a political solution to the crisis in Syria, warning that a military action against Syria would harm the world economy. During a press conference on the sideline of the Group of 20 summit in St. Petersburg, the Chinese Deputy Finance Minister said a military action would have a negative impact on world economy, particularly on oil, causing the rise of its prices worldwide. Meanwhile, the Group of 20 summit is due to be held in the Russian city of St. Petersburg today under the motto, Reforming the World Financial System. However, the development of the situation in Syria, particularly in light of the American threats to launch a possible aggression on Syria, has given the Syrian issue top priority over the topics to be discussed during the meeting. Diplomats at the UN said the main participants in the summit will exert their utmost efforts to precipitate the convention of the Geneva International Conference to solve the crisis in Syria. Washington has announced intention to increase its military support for the armed Syrian opposition to be within the jurisdiction of the Pentagon, not the CIA. An American Defense Department spokesman said such a step would allow work on a wide scale than what is currently being done with the CIA, which does not possess the necessary potentials. Washington had declared last June, through its Deputy Advisor of National Security, Ben Rhodes, its intention to offer more military support to the terrorist groups in Syria. Rhodes said Obama has taken a decision to offer more support for the opposition, which includes military assistance. Tribes in Syria have voiced full readiness to confront the West Zionist American aggression on Syria. In the final communiqué issued at the conclusion of the extraordinary meeting which they held in Damascus, the tribes reiterated their stand on the side of the Syrian Arab army. The states and governments of the Bolivarian Alliance of the Peoples of the American Continent, ALBA, have expressed in a statement their solidarity with Syria in the face of the American threats to launch an aggression against it under false pretexts, not on the basis of factual evidence. The statement said, "What is happening in Syria is an imperialist conspiracy implemented by imperialist gangs who are supported by funds and weapons with the aim of weakening Syria and dividing the region." ALBA member countries denounced President Obama's recent statements in which he accused the Syrian government without waiting for the results of the international investigation or the statements of the world community and the UN Security Council. Iraqi media men, intellectuals and chiefs of tribes have meanwhile staged a sit-in in solidarity with the Syrian people against American Western threats to launch an aggression on Syria. In Rafah, south of the Gaza Strip, hundreds of Palestinians organized a demonstration in protest of the American threats to launch an aggression on Syria. The demonstrators considered any encroachment on Syria's security and stability as a flagrant aggression on Palestine and its cause and sanctities. They affirmed that Syria's stand on the side of the Palestinian cause was the reason behind the American Zionist assault against it. In Sweden, a large number of the Syrian community, together with Swedish activists, took the streets denouncing foreign intervention in Syria, calling on the USA to end its terrorism and urging for the departure of Obama, whom they branded as a war criminal. The demonstrators raised placards on which was written, "No to war in Syria, stop American terrorism." Source has talked about initial information concerning a terrorist explosion in a booby-trapped car in front of the Researchers and Industrial Test Center in a Somaria neighborhood, causing several victims. Three citizens were injured today in a terrorist attack by mortar shells at At-Tijara and Dwelha residential neighborhoods in Damascus. Material damage was inflicted on citizens' properties. The army has killed and wounded several terrorists and destroyed their weapons and ammunition in the surrounding of the Syrian education channel in Barza neighborhood, southeast of Al-Manashir in Jobar, and in Al-Ab farms in Douma, as well as in Al-Ziyabiya, Dariya, Al-Zabadani and Al-Rahibe. The army also eliminated a sniper in Zamalka. In Homs, our army units chased a group of terrorists southeast of the Syrian gas company and the Golden Street near Khadija Al-Kubra school in the city, inflicting heavy losses upon them. Another army unit inflicted heavy losses upon two terrorist gangs in the villages of Ain Hussein al-Janubi and Al-Amiriya in Homs countryside. Our army units killed all the terrorists in Hawsh Hajjo village in As-Sa'an area who were firing mortar shells on citizens in the neighboring villages, destroying their rocket-propelled grenades and other ammunition. Our army units also killed and wounded a number of terrorists in Al-Karami street in the town of Talbise. In Palmyra, in Homs countryside, the Syrian Arab Army has restored stability of the southern farms in Palmyra. The Syrian Arab Army found 20 bombs that weigh 40 kilograms, in addition to 4 sticky bombs, grenades and stolen medical equipment. On the other hand, the army forces also found missiles launcher and large quantities of materials that used to manufacture explosive devices. Security forces in Iraq have arrested a woman who had in her possession 13 forged seals belonging to the Syrian Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Justice and other governmental departments, in addition to an Italian passport. Security forces also arrested the terrorist Salam Hadidi, the leader of the Islamic State in Iraq and Asham, with 3 other terrorists in a cave near the border with Syria. Now to latest business and market news, but after a short break, stay tuned.